Good morning. I wanted to do this. This is the last part of this, I guess, this little tiny series that we're doing. This one is the lost son. So just to recap, we went over a lost sheep. It was leaving the 99, going after the one, and there was praise over that. Then the lost coin. They had 10 lost coins, they're lost silver pieces, and then they lost one, searched the house, found it. Now it's the lost son. So the first part is consideration. I guess if you want to look at the 3 C's, I guess. Consideration, considering that 1 out of 100, the 99 are good, the 1, the consideration of that. The lost coin, I guess you could use another C of coveting. The coveting of the silver. And now we're going to work on their compassion. It works off of, are you compassionate over it? Now we're not going to hit on all of it, but the lost son is, let's first find out who was there first. I guess that's important. So who's there? 15 verses 1 and 2, Luke 15, 1 and 2. It says, "Then drew near unto him all the publicans and the sinners to hear him." So they're coming to hear him. That was their purpose, is just to hear him. And then, of course, we went over this before, Pharisees and scribes, or Pharisees and the scribes, they came there to murmur against him. So he hit on the other 2. Now it's the lost son. Now this kind of drives home his point. This kind of, if they were wondering before, this kind of drives home what he's actually trying to say. So to kind of sum it up, it starts in verse 11, Luke 15, 11. It says, "A certain man had 2 sons. One of the sons," in verse 12, it says, "Give me the portion of goods that falleth to me," and he divided unto him his living. So one of them is like, well, I don't want to wait till you to die. I want to have my portions now. And so not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance and riotous living. So this portrays a son that is unconsiderate of the father. It's just like, I only want you for money. I'm going to go out into riotous living. So this is still, the kid it's still important to the father. But to the Pharisees, I guess, their mentality of, why would you eat with them? Why would you have anything, murmuring and stuff like that? They're seeing him as this wayward son. Somebody that just, is just wasteful, that's don't give any respect and just kind of goes along. So right now, the Pharisees are in agreement, I guess, up to this point. "And when he had spent all, that there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want." So he goes riotous living, and now he's in want. Or the son is, one of the sons. "And he went and joined himself unto the citizen of that country, and sent him into the fields to feed the swine." So the kid's getting, I guess, what he deserves. You go out, you disrespected your father, you're going out, famine comes, and now you're feeding swine. Okay. Verse 16, "And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him." So this, I know you may have heard this before in this reference, but to the Pharisees and to the scribes, they just see this portrays how they depict him. They depict him as this wasteful, unrespectable son that just goes out, and this is all that's good for them, just eating with swine. You don't eat with the prominent member of society. They wouldn't eat with them. That's why they're saying, like, you eat with sinners. It's So the fact that the kid's feeding the swine is amazing. And when he had come to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's house bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? The boy comes to himself, and he recalls the very servants, the people that I guess was cast, that would be seen as not a member of the family. They were just servants. They were hired help. 8. And were taken care of. I will rise up and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great ways off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Now, the son was feeding swine. He came to himself and left. So, imagine, if you would, a boy that's pretty much without anything. It was just cast aside, hey, just feed the swine. This boy didn't, clean himself up and go. He probably, stank and whatever. And people in the town probably know of the disrespect that he did. But the father didn't care. And if you look back on who's there, sinners and publican is there. And these Pharisees are saying, how dare you eat with them? So the fact that the Father is coming, that's kind of, if you look back, that's kind of representation of what Jesus is. Jesus is eating with them. He's accepting them. He's being among them. And the Father here is running to them. And so he's saying, this is what you're portraying. You're portraying that I'm acknowledging and I'm okay with what he did. I'm okay with how their lifestyle is. And, that he's portraying this father coming after this son and hugging him and kissing him, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. So they're the Pharisees and stuff is in essence doing the same thing. They're like saying, well, how dare you eat with these people? And he rose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. So in this it says that he had compassion on him. And that's what these Pharisees was lacking, and that's compassion. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no longer worthy to be called thy son. So that is humility. That is somebody that comes across and saying, look, I understand that I've wronged you. I understand my place. I don't really deserve you hugging and kissing on me. I don't really deserve that. I don't know if you've ever loved somebody and you've done them wrong. You may have hurt them, you've caused them grief. To make up with them and as if nothing ever happened, just kind of pushing aside. You feel unworthy. I'm not worthy to do it. I need to do things to be able to earn. Because if I really did love you, and if it really did, I wouldn't have done the things that I've done. And he's remorseful with it. I mean, he's like, I don't deserve this compassion. That's what he's saying. I don't deserve it. But, verse 22, it says, but. So regardless of what the son is doing, he's in verse 12, it says, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said unto his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. The best robe. So he no longer is talking about eating and associating with them. He's talking about getting the best robe and put them on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. So a servant wouldn't wear apparel like this. So he's saying, you're going to be welcomed in, and I'm going to adorn you. More like a prince. And then in this part, just to drive home, just in case the Pharisees didn't understand what he's saying, he says, "And bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry." So he's saying, in a sense, to these Pharisees that is murmuring and stuff, he's like, we don't need to just murmur against him and treat him like an outsider. The fact that they're coming and they're hearing us, or hearing me, or, wanting to come through, this is how I see them. I see them as a lost son that not worthy to do this. I'm going to, pull out the red carpet. I'm gonna do everything that I possibly can, and your murmuring and your talking evil of me is not going to do it. This is actually my intent. My intent is to welcome them with open arms and kisses, and I want to show to them how much I appreciate them. And this is the reason. Because if you see for in Scripture, it's because. Because this, my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry. Now we know the first two, that there was joy in the presence, finding the coin and the lost sheep, and now there's merry here. The son was dead and is alive, was lost and is found. So it's twofold. Dead in your trespasses and sins. It doesn't say that you're alive in your trespasses and sins. You're dead. You're dead to righteousness. You're dead to God. You're just a walking zombie, I guess. And you're lost. And it means that without Christ, you're just surviving. But ultimately, sin leads to death. So he's saying that he was lost and is found, was dead, and now alive. So if you think of the lost sheep for a moment, that lost sheep without the shepherd would be dead. Lost, I guess the coin, unless it was found, it would remain lost. So he's using symbolicness into this, and he's saying, that it is helpless and without him. And he's saying, the fact that this son is back into the family, back into the lives, this is something to rejoice. And the Pharisees is only seeing lost sinners there, and they're only able to see publicans. They're not able to see anything beyond that. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. Now this is the point. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry. This is verse 28. And he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. So it says, to come in and enjoy the music. Enjoy this sinful son, this riotous living, this unrespectable, undeserving son that came home, and we've killed the fatted calf. Come and celebrate with us. It says entreat, so come in, come on in. But it says that his son was angry, and I guess that it is the Pharisees here that are angry as well. They're like, how dare you come and your compassion with him? And it's almost as if that they're selfish in their approach, but he goes a little bit more. And he answered and said unto his father, Lo, these many years did I serve thee, neither transgressed I any of thy commandments. So he's actually getting into with the Pharisees, and they're like, you know what? We've done what God wanted us to do. These many years. So if the position that they've had, they have been faithful to God all this time. Neither transgressed I any of thy commandments, and yet thou never gavest me a kid that I might take Mary with my friends. And he's saying, you don't show us the love that you're giving these sinful publicans. So, but as soon as this thy son was come, which has devoured thy leaven with harlots, and has killed him the fatted calf. So this drives home the point. He's saying, as soon as these wretched, sinful, these sinners and these publicans come, what didn't abide or didn't serve thee, or neither transgressed, if you kind of compare the two, and devoured thy living, that took for granted you're willing to eat with them. You're willing to have that, and that's what it's murmuring. So if you look at it in the aspect of they're like a spoiled kid. They're like saying, well, how dare you treat them with this much respect? They should be feeding the hogs. They should be punished. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. So he's saying that, you're murmuring, you're complaining that I'm at a meeting with these publicans and sinners, but you're always there with me. Everything that I have is yours. It was meet. I'm looking to see what the meat here, or fitting. I have a thing, I don't know if you're off the side of your, it says, or fitting. It was fitting that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. He said it's fitting that we should do this. So he kind of addresses them, and he says, you consider more a sheep, right? You consider more a lost sheep that is gone, because, it could affect, sacrificing and different things. You covet with money. But the way that I see you right now is a spoiled kid, jealous of the sinners and the publicans. But you don't understand that they were lost and is found, or they were dead and now alive, and is lost and is found. And that's in verse 32. So he says your mindset and your compassion and how you're seeing these people are wrong. How you should see these people is a brother, an equal. The Father has compassion on them because of where their nature was and what their nature is now, that they've humbled themselves, they've come to me, and I'm willing to put a robe, a ring, and make them not a servant but an equal. I wonder how often are we more like the one brother that goes out and riotous living that we come to God, or are we more like the other brother that just kind of looks and sees, the why you see compassion, and they're more resentful? My prayer is that we would show more respect, or more compassion, I should say, for the lost. And when they're welcomed in, that we welcome him, and we're not like the brother, not like the Pharisees, not murmuring, but we see them in a different light. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Pray that you have a good day, and God bless.